Why a 4PL over a 3PL? So, joining us to speak about that today, Eric Rempel, Chief Innovation Officer at Redwood Logistics. Eric, good to see you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Russell.
Eric, I think it's fair to say that there are certain capabilities that a 4PL has that a 3PL does not have or may not have. And so some folks may be interested in working with both. So let's walk through that. What really are those capabilities and what's going on in the decision-making process there?
Absolutely. It's a great question. And I think it's important for folks to know that a 3PL and a 4PL are not mutually exclusive, right? Those two circles, they don't necessarily, you have to pick one or the other. A 4PL operating model, or at least the way, Gartner looks at it, is that you have the execution capabilities of a 3PL from cradle to grave across your logistics lifecycle, but also above it, you have an orchestration and total visibility across your digital supply chain, and that's the services provided in the world of orchestration by 4PLs. So you can think of a 4PL as an organization that perhaps manages 3PL activities as well as looks at the big picture of how supply chains get done, especially today.
So if I were a potential client and I were to say to you, listen, I need you to break this down specifically, what are the gaps that a 4PL is going to fill, for me, what are you going to tell me?
3PL is about execution, 4PL is about orchestration. So that gap is really about elevating the way one looks at a supply chain from, getting it done to orchestrating events that when something happens, I want something else to happen to complete the life cycle journey of my freight, of my supply chain goods, and I want to be able to control it and modify it. And that's really that evolutionary step from 3PL to 4PL, where an organization can say, I'm going to focus more on how I run my business, and I'm going to outsource some of my orchestration capabilities around my supply chain to a partner and work with them around my business strategy, which I'll focus on, but the execution of not only logistics from a 3PL perspective, but supply chain orchestration and that digital transformation journey is handled by that 4PL partner.
So I'm still a potential customer, and I'm going to say to you, tell me, Eric, how much deeper is the collaboration and integration of a 4PL? Now, what are you going to tell me?
It needs to be a level of integration and collaboration higher, because without real-time data and without that data being clean, ready for consumption and ready to be executed on across the full spectrum of supply chain solutions, technologies, and trading partners, you're just going to have the status quo, which is what many organizations have today, which is reacting with people to events, and that takes long and you miss out on either cost savings or revenue opportunities. If you can move that upwards towards orchestration, where you are prepared for events to take place, you get notification of them digitally, you immediately act digitally, and then exceptions are what happen, are what people work on. Then it's another level of profitability and essentially digitization of that supply chain.
You're going to tell me that this is making my operation much more agile, right?
Much more agile.
And how so?
Well, if you think about what takes place in supply chain is when stuff goes wrong, what happens? Or even when stuff goes right, what happens? People have to react to it, and you have to execute across trading partners. Maybe one route that I'm looking at today is different carriers, different providers, different sourcing agents. And if I want to immediately switch, what does that take? That takes months of setup, that takes different contracting. But if you have those partners set up now where you perhaps have the contracting done, you have digital connectivity between existing systems, different types of transportation systems, different types of supply chain planning, all the way to control tower, and you have a partner that's responsible for connecting all of those and giving you that single, not just pane of glass, but to your point, the ability to agilely make those changes, it completely changes the game in terms of flexibility.
I think it's fair to say that blending technology and digital supply chains is a goal for many companies, right now. So I want you to tell me how this 4PL is going to truly layer those two aspects, to provide for me the most ROI. So walk me through that.
So I think there's two approaches. If you consider the two layers of a 4PL, right, the execution of the supply chain, and then the orchestration of the events across the larger supply chain, you've got two choices. You've got 4PL partners who can put you in a closed ecosystem, meaning they have the full stack of solutions from top to bottom, but that flexibility is that of your partner. And then there's the open ecosystem approach, where the choices of partners and technologies are really that of the shipper, right? And various partners can say, I want to participate in that network. Now you have a lot of flexibility where let's just say things change, and they always do in our industry and the entire world. How quickly can you react to that change? So I think that secondary model is really going to win in the long term, which is if I can decide which partners and which collaboration solutions I want to leverage, and I can change those as I see fit because I have an underlying orchestration platform that lets me make those decisions in near real time, and then it automates them. That's the game changer where, again, that logistics execution plus the ability to plug and play the right solutions you want across your supply chain leads to a whole paradigm shift of how we operate our businesses.
You know, when we were talking just prior to the interview, I took some notes of our conversation. You said there that one of the pushbacks on 4PLs is that consolidation could create throughout the industry this notion that shippers may be left in the dark when times of disruption occur. You patently don't agree with that.
Right.
So walk us through with that. What's wrong with that assumption? What's wrong with that view?
Yeah, if you think about the shipper, and let's go back to that closed versus open ecosystem, if they're in a closed ecosystem and they don't have the ability to make choices that lead to optionality, flexibility, control, savings, they will be left in the dark. And the reason I fundamentally disagree with that is because if you choose the open approach and you have the flexibility to say, I'm not locked into a solution, I have a base platform that lets me pick the trading partners, the technology systems, the carriers, the suppliers, and I can mix and match those as I see fit. And the orchestration of those partners is something that is molded around the way I as a shipper do business. I'm not locked in. I am not part of that assumption, and I have flexibility to run my business my way and around the way that I find profitability, not have to change myself to the mold of the common operating model.
Eric, this has been a terrific drill down into this area here. Just one more question before we go. For the benefit of any viewer who's not entirely familiar with Redwood Logistics, walk us through just a bit. What does the company specifically do? What's it doing for its customer base? What do you say?
So Redwood Logistics is a full-service North American 3PL. We play in that category, and we've been excelling at it for 20 years. For about the last 10 years or so, we've been focused on connectivity, systems integration, highly automated managed transportation services, and that essentially enabled us to build a integration platform as a service for logistics. So when we take our ability to do logistics execution, plus our platform as a service to act as this infrastructure base for how we get business done, that together is what we see as a modern 4PL operating model. So we execute on the logistics needs of our customers from cradle to grave, and we design fully digital systems across the life cycle of cradle to grave so that we have a physical supply chain that we run for our customers, as well as the digital supply chain. And when we put those together with our LPaaS models, our customers get to land and expand where they find comfort. They don't have to, change overnight. Digital transformation is a journey. It's not a destination. And we give them a very easy path to find a lot of efficiency using Redwood Logistics and our people and services.
Great stuff. Eric, thank you very much for finding the time to speak with us. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Russell. Thanks so much.
That's Eric Rempel, Redwood Logistics, and speaking with us today about the collaboration between 4PLs and 3PLs. Thanks for watching.